They, of course, landed on the lake bed at Edwards.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I landed on that lake bed, by the way, in my T-38.
So did I.
That's kind of a, you're coming into land, and there's really no visual references at all. It's a one big vast desert area, and you're trying to figure out how close.
They had black lines marked on it. And what you figured out is you got as close to that black line as you could, because that gave you some depth perception.
Yeah, I don't remember the black line, but
Yeah,
I do remember this.
I was stationed at Edwards.
The feeling as I was, this was in the late 70s, when I was flying tankers. I was also flying T-38s. Of course, long distance calls were real expensive. You often would wait until after 6 or after 7 to make them if you had a personal call. Internet didn't exist, but the DARPANet was out there with the DoD and universities learning how to do that whole worldwide network type stuff. When you flew across the Pacific or the Atlantic, mostly the Pacific because it takes up like half of our world, if you're flying a tanker across the Pacific, you have to dial up your HF radio and try to make contact with the air traffic controllers out there and to give them a position update every 15 minutes so they know where to look for you if they didn't get the next position update. Kind of cool thing about that is that the tanker HF radio included all the CB radio bands. So I did not, fly over the United States late at night talking to truckers. I mean, that would not be appropriate radio discipline. But when you did do that, they were pretty impressed with the power you put out.
1,000 watts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but our burdens prove it.
Yeah, the guys played with them around here.
So personal computers arrived around 1981, and I brought my old TRS-80 manual, if anybody wants to reminisce about that. That's the TRS-80, that's the Apple II. And the thing that I found most wonderful is that you could still work on your own car. You know, you hear something going wrong, and you go, well, let's pull off the distributor cap and see if that rotor.
Those days are gone. Well,
You're talking about Edwards. My brother was right next door there for many years, and I went down there one time. He said they got this funny plane. It's a black plane that doesn't have a propeller on it. They keep flying over here, and I asked everybody I know, nobody ever heard of it. It flew right over his place. So I went down there to help him. He had a body shop there, and boron.
So what year was this?
When that first started flying.
Okay.
I'm ahead of you a little bit. But I went down there, and he had a body shop and was working. He said, "There's that plane again." And I went out, and it flew about 100 feet over us, going in the land at Edwards. The plane with no propeller. He had no idea what it was at that time. And
Yeah,
those X-15s, they flew them out of there all the time. He used to see them all the time too. He told me a lot
So
about it.
being married to the SR-71 meant that you were divorced from the B-52s. You didn't have to pull the alert that the
Yeah.
B-52 tankers had to pull. So you would get all kinds of other missions besides the SR-71. I got a mission one day where they said, go up, fly over Area 51. If you see anything, don't talk about it. If it comes up behind you, refuel it. that was the stealth fighter.
the shaft, huh?
Yeah. So, by the way, we're replacing your brand new boom operator with a 20-year veteran. So in the 50s, like I said, we really needed to go look and see where the Russians were putting their missiles.